So they say that timing is everything, and I've got to say I probably agree today, certainly in the case of this particular game where I don't think we're going to face as bad of a Tottenham team as we did today. Not saying they were particularly bad, but, they're not a full-strength side. They're protecting themselves since they played midweek for the Europa League semi-final in their first leg, and they've obviously got their second leg next week, right? So, they played half a squad, some reserves in there, some youngsters, as we thought they would do. We put out a team of fairly experienced side. We didn't have any youngsters, play today. Guilherme didn't make it onto the pitch, and Scars didn't make the squad. So, I think it was probably the right call to go with the experience for today. It definitely showed on the pitch. Certainly in the first half, I really felt like we had the first half on lock, to be honest with you. Just obviously that one mistake that really let us down, and it seems to be, one of those every game. But that's the Premier League, isn't it? You make a mistake like that, and you're going up against teams that can and will punish you, right? So today was no different. Kilman made a fairly horrific mistake, really. He tried to play it off for a throw, I think, tried to sort of clear the lines. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to. And, he gave it another go, had two shots at it and still couldn't do it. So, he ended up, unfortunately, leaving a bit of a tap-in for Odegaard. As it came back across the goal, Richarlison leaves it and it just gets put in the back of the net. Pretty rudimentary, to be honest with you. Areola had no chance. And to be honest with you, Areola kind of had nothing to do today either, to be honest with you. I think they had two shots on target, which is the same we had. It doesn't tell the whole story. There was quite a few threats, I think, our side. We had a good amount of the opportunities. We had 11 shots, which is pretty similar to what we normally do. We're normally around 11 or 12 so far, the last 3 or 4 games. And but yeah, as I say, only 2 of those on target. But as I said, the stats don't fully give the picture. And roughly about sort of 55 to 60% possession. I know about 60% possession in the first half, and obviously a little bit less in the second. Overall, at about 56, 57% possession for the whole game. But look, the result was 1-1. I really think we should have won that, if I'm completely honest with you. I don't think we played too badly at all. I think there were spells of the game where, we were really taking it to him. We were being quite positive, and I'm quite proud of the team today, generally speaking. We've had a really bad run of results, and this was one of those games where, you really wanted to kind of get a result, or you wanted to get something from it. You certainly couldn't lose it. And there's a lot of history between the clubs, and I was really glad to see Cresswell on the pitch actually as well. Get an old head on there who sort of knows what it means. Bowen knows what it means as well, and I felt like it was a good sort of spirited performance today. As I say, these mistakes we get punished, and Kilman's just making far too many of those at the moment. I was surprised to see him on the team sheet today, if I'm completely honest. But, look, this is how it goes. So, look, as I say, a fairly positive start from West Ham in terms of, intent. I think we were, quite forward-thinking in the way that we were playing, which is a nice change of pace. A couple of handballs that were in the area that, weren't given. Again, it's one of those sorts of things that, look, if it was against West Ham, we'd have complained about it. It's... That'd have been a bit harsh if they were given, so I'm sort of glad that they weren't. But it's notable that there were 2 of those. They got away with those a little bit. Certainly, one of them in particular, I think, was a little bit worse than the other. But the referee was sort of favouring Spurs a bit. I felt like in that first half, it did feel like any 50-50 that was going on, it was in Spurs' favour. We never really got a lot of those, which was a little frustrating, to say the least. Especially that yellow card from Kudus. I don't think that was yellow card worthy at all. His eyes were on the ball the entire time, and I don't think it was a particularly high boot. I just think he was a bit unlucky there, and once the referee pushes the card out, that's it. VAR can't get involved in those sorts of things. And the problem is now Kudus has got to play the rest of the game with a yellow card. And frankly, I'd probably have taken him off, I think, at that point. I think he'd already... I can't remember if that was before or after the goal involvement. Obviously we equalised, which is what made the final score 1-1 from Jared Bowen. And so he was playing on the right-hand side, which is exactly where we need him, which is what having someone like Füllkrug up front affords us the ability to do, actually play our best player in his best position, which is obviously a good thing. And so Kudus comes in just about central mid on the left-hand side, makes a bit of a switch it from the left over to the right-hand side to Wan-Bissaka, who then sees Bowen making the run, Füllkrug making a similar run as well, which splits the defence a little bit, gets straight through, Jared's there, well onside, and but the problem that we have there is that there's literally nobody to cut it to. To cut it back or square it to. It was pretty empty, so Jared had to kind of go it alone. And thankfully, Vicario, who really should have done a lot better, left his legs wide open, and Bowen took the opportunity and saw it. It was a really well taken goal, actually. So, really pleased. But again, the momentum was with us then at that point. 1-1 after 28 minutes, and I really felt like we were with a little bit of an extra push. I really felt like we could have won the game, and certainly with the score going the way it was at Man United at the time, and I think it ended 4-3 in Man U, Brentford. That we could have really put some pressure on the teams above us and get some more money coming in for the summer, which we desperately need. We can't just lay over and lay down, roll over, and accept 17th this season. That's just not good enough. We have the ability with the next few games to pick up some points, and I think Tottenham have got a fairly tough run in. So, I think getting above Tottenham would be a real blessing. What I thought was quite good about the game was, obviously, as I mentioned, Tottenham have got their second leg coming up, and they're trying to protect themselves a little bit. So, it was nice to see Cresswell go in with a bit of a tough challenge on Kulusevski in the first half, and just remind him that, look, we've got a game to play here, and hopefully let them sort of sit back a little bit and, duck out of some of these 50-50s and really let them know that, we're not, that we're going for it, So that was really well done. I just wish that, we had a few more, other than Kudus, a few more players on the field with the same kind of mentality, just getting stuck in and make them fearful that they won't be able to make the Europa League semi-final or even the final if they get injured. At half-time, I wasn't sure really what to do. I wasn't sure whether or not to sort of take off Kilman, because Kilman, obviously that mistake can really rock you. But I think he did really well, actually, for the remainder of the game. I think, he's one of those players that, so one of those things rather, it can really, really knock a player's confidence, and it can really, if you can capitulate. And but that, to his credit, he really did, and he locked in and finished out the game strongly. So, with Kilman, as I say, there's been a couple of issues over the last few games where he's, lapses of concentration, finding himself in the middle of nowhere. But it was a big mistake today that we paid for. But as I say, for the remainder of the game, he was very good at shutting down Richarlison, etc. as soon as he possibly could. So he was a real nuisance to Richarlison in that sense. Not that Richarlison's particularly dangerous, but even so, he played his role really well. But I was thinking, like, do you take him off? Do you bring Mavropanos on? But that's just sort of, is that actually going to improve us? So I didn't know at that point. So I'm quite happy, certainly with the result, in the sense that Kilman didn't go off. But I think I probably would have taken off Kudus and brought on Guilherme, just because I was particularly worried about Kudus getting that second yellow card and getting sent off, which thankfully he didn't get for the remainder of the game. And there was a nice cross that he lofted into Füllkrug, which is like probably one and only opportunity that game for Füllkrug. But that's his bread and butter. You need someone to cross it in, and thankfully Kudus has got a good left foot, and on that left-hand side, the delivery was good. But Füllkrug couldn't get above it. enough, and yeah, it ended up missing the target. But yeah, I'd probably have taken Kudus off and brought on Guilherme just to give a little bit of an extra threat, a bit of speed on the left hand side as well, as we have seen him be a bit bright in the last few games too. So. But yeah, I think we were definitely the most forward thinking of the two teams generally throughout the whole game, to be honest with you. But yeah, particularly in the first half. Second half, really not a whole load to report. We did have two decent chances, both from Ward-Prowse actually, other than the Fulkrug one that I just mentioned actually, so it's three, from 2 free kicks. So obviously there was one where Ward-Prowse bended it round on the left-hand side of the goal. And as soon as he hit it, I didn't have a clue what he was doing at the time. And then Bowen legged it into that space, clipped it off the top of his head, and actually it was a really, really well saved effort from Vicario, who's a bit of a liability, to be honest with you. So a bit gutted that one didn't go in. So fair play to him. He looked really shaky today in quite a number of places. Just think he's really bad at the feet. That's probably somewhere they need to strengthen, I would say. But yeah, other than that, I felt the game was pretty boring and sort of like petered out rather towards the end of the game. But yeah, pretty happy that Spurs didn't seem particularly threatening either. So yeah, Cresswell played a really solid game. Really, really pleased to see him on the lineup, and yeah, he's probably his last season for us this season. But I wouldn't be against probably giving him another, a season-long extension. To be honest with you, I think he wants it. It'd be nice to keep him around. And it's just good to have a little bit of the West Ham mentality around that dressing room, just to kind of lift people and let them know what it means to play for the shirt, because you haven't got someone like Mark Noble, etc., in the dressing room at the moment. So, but look, we picked up a point. Could have done with all three, to be completely honest with you, and I really think that we could have had it. As I say, timing's everything, and I think the timing was right today to do that. With the result of the Man U game, as I say, could really put some pressure on. But now then it was all going to rest on next week at Old Trafford. So yeah, not the best, but not the worst.